Every Sunday morning for the last 11 years, I have made 2 cups of coffee. I make them at the same time, in the same pot, and I pour them into 2 mugs, one for me and one for the idea that someone might call. Marcus used to call on Sunday mornings. Not every Sunday, but enough Sundays that Sunday morning became the time I listened for the phone. The second cup of coffee gets cold, and I pour it down the sink, and I wash both mugs, and I go on with my day. I have been washing that second mug for 11 years. I do not know why I keep making it. Maybe because the day I stop making it is the day I have truly accepted that he is not going to call, and I am not ready for that day. I may never be ready for that day. My name is Dorothy Mae Watkins. I am 76 years old. I live in the same apartment in Atlanta, Georgia, where I raised my son Marcus for 18 years on my own. Marcus is 42 years old now. He lives in a house in Palo Alto, California that cost more money than I will earn in 10 lifetimes. He has a wife named Nicole and 2 children I have met 4 times, my grandchildren, who I know from photographs that Marcus's assistant emails me at Christmas. Marcus is not a bad man. I need you to hear that from me before I tell you anything else. Because this story is going to sound like a story about a bad son, and it is not. It is a story about what ambition costs when nobody calculates the full price in advance, what the climb requires, what gets left behind when a person rises fast enough and far enough that the place they came from starts to look like a different country. Marcus came from me. I am that different country now. And I have spent 11 years trying to understand how it happened, so that maybe by telling it honestly, it does not have to happen to somebody else. I am going to tell you my whole story today, from the red dirt roads of Telfair County, Georgia, to this armchair in Atlanta where I sit on Sunday mornings with a cup of coffee that stays warm and one that does not. I am going to tell it all, because a woman who has worked as hard as I have worked has earned the right to be heard. And the story of how a mother can lose her child to his own success is a story that more people are living than you might think. I was born in 1948 in McRae, Georgia, Telfair County. If you have never heard of Telfair County, Georgia, that is exactly how Telfair County, Georgia would want it. Small town, flat land, red clay soil. The kind of place where everybody knew everybody's business, and the business was generally farming and church and trying to get through the week. My family grew tobacco and a little cotton on land my grandfather had sharecropped, and my father had eventually come to own a small piece of, legally, through 30 years of relentless work and a stubbornness that I inherited directly. My mother, Ida Mae, was the kind of woman who could do 12 things at the same time and make every one of them look effortless. She cooked, she sewed, she kept the house, she worked alongside my father in the field during harvest, she taught Sunday school, she made sure all 6 of her children did their homework before the sun went down. I watched my mother my entire childhood, and I took note of everything she did, and I made myself a silent promise. I am going to do what Mama does, but I am going to do it somewhere with more options. Mama never had many options. I was going to have more. School was my way out, and I knew it young. Not because anyone sat me down and explained the path. Nobody did that in Telfair County in 1956. But I was a reader. I read everything I could get my hands on. Library books, old magazines, the back of cereal boxes, anything with words on it. My 3rd grade teacher, Mrs. Hollins, told my mother once that Dorothy reads like she is hungry. My mother said, she is hungry. That word stayed with me, hungry. I have been hungry my entire life for something more than what was immediately in front of me. I passed that hunger to Marcus. I thought it was a gift. It was. It was also the thing that eventually took him so far that I could not follow. I finished high school in 1966, and I was accepted to Fort Valley State College on an academic scholarship. First person in my family to go to college. My mother cried. My father shook my hand with both of his the way he did on the most serious occasions. I studied education. I planned to come back and teach in Telfair County. I was 20 years old, and I had a plan, and the plan made perfect sense. Then I went to Atlanta the summer after my junior year to stay with a cousin for 2 months, and I never came back to Telfair County to live. The city swallowed me whole, and I was glad to be swallowed. I arrived in Atlanta in the summer of 1970 with a degree, 2 suitcases, and the specific confidence of a young woman who has been the smartest person in most rooms she has entered and does not yet know how large the rooms are about to get. I got a job teaching 3rd grade at an elementary school in the Vine City neighborhood. I was 22 years old and my students were 8, and I loved that work with everything I had. The children were bright and struggling in the way of children from neighborhoods that have been underinvested in for decades. And every day felt like the most useful thing I could possibly be doing with the education I had worked so hard to get. I met Marcus's father in 1977. His name was Raymond, and he was charming and handsome and had the kind of easy certainty about himself that I mistook at 29 for reliability. We were together for 2 years. When I told Raymond I was pregnant with Marcus, he told me he was not ready to be a father. He said it plainly and without cruelty, the way you tell someone you are not ready for something when you have already decided you are not going to do it. I said, that is fine. I am ready for both of us. And I was. Or I became ready, which is the same thing because readiness is not always a feeling. Sometimes it is just a decision you make, and then you live into it. Marcus Jerome Watkins was born on September 3rd, 1982. 7 pounds, 11 ounces. He came out with his eyes open, the nurses said, already looking around, already taking stock. I held him in that hospital room, and I made him the same kind of promise that parents make their children in hospital rooms when they are overwhelmed by the specific love that has no other outlet except a vow. I said, baby, I am going to give you everything I have, every single thing. And I meant it, and I kept it. And I have spent 30 years learning that everything I have was not the same as everything he needed. Teaching paid enough to live on and not enough to save. I taught days and I took a second job evenings and weekends at Grady Memorial Hospital in the laundry department when Marcus was 3 years old. I want to describe what that work was like because I think the physical reality of it matters to understanding the rest of this story. The hospital laundry is where the sheets go after everything that happens in a hospital has happened to them. It is hot, it is heavy. You stand on a concrete floor for 6 hours, sorting and washing and pressing linen. And the steam and the smell are things you carry home with you in your clothes and your hair. And after a while, you stop noticing them because they are just part of what you are. I worked that job 3 evenings a week and every Saturday for 14 years. 14 years. I want that number to sit with you for a moment before I go on. 14 years of concrete floors and hospital steam so that Marcus Watkins could go to school in clean clothes and have school supplies in September and not carry the particular shame that attaches itself to children who do not have things when the other children do. My mother came up from McRae to help with Marcus 3 afternoons a week while I worked evenings. She was in her 60s by then, smaller than I remembered, but her hands were still the same capable hands, and she loved Marcus with the specific intensity of a grandmother who knows she is watching a generation she helped make. She died in 1994 when Marcus was 12. He cried for 3 days. He has not cried in front of me since then that I have seen. Sometimes I wonder if Mama's death is when Marcus decided that grief was too expensive and began the long process of making himself someone who did not have to feel it. Marcus was extraordinary in school from the beginning, not just intelligent, driven. He did his homework without being asked. He asked his teachers for extra work. He got angry at his own mistakes in a way that I recognized because it was the same way I got angry at mine. I had passed him my hunger, and he had metabolized it into something purer and more concentrated. By high school, he was taking AP classes at a magnet school across town that I drove him to at 6:30 every morning before I went to teach my own class. He won a partial scholarship to Georgia Tech in mathematics. The partial scholarship was 60% of the tuition. The other 40% was the hospital laundry for 4 more years. I never told Marcus how close the margins were. I did not want him carrying my financial anxiety into his education. I wanted his mind free. I gave him a free mind, and later I would wonder if the freedom was too complete. If a mind that never had to worry about the cost is a mind that never learns to count what it owes. Marcus graduated from Georgia Tech in 2004. Computer science, highest honors. He got a job offer from a company in San Jose, California, before he had walked across the stage. I stood in that auditorium and I watched my son receive his diploma in the cap and gown I had pressed the night before. And I felt something I do not have a single word for. Pride is too small. Vindication is too self-centered. It was something more like completion. The feeling of a long project arriving at exactly the outcome you had been building toward, with the full weight of everything it had cost arriving at the same moment as the joy. I stood in that auditorium and I thought, 14 years of Saturday mornings in the hospital laundry are in that diploma. My mother's 3 afternoons a week are in that diploma. Every 6:30 morning drive across Atlanta is in that diploma. I stood there and I thought, we did it. We. Me and Marcus and Mama and every person who had ever helped. We. The first 2 years in California, Marcus called every week, long calls. He told me about his work, about San Jose, about the people he was meeting, the restaurants, the weather that was nothing like Georgia, the salary that was more than I made in a year arriving in his bank account every 2 weeks. He sent money home every month. Not a lot, but regular, like a tithe. I saved most of it. I did not need it the way I had needed it before, but the sending of it meant something. It meant he was still counting us, still including me in the arithmetic of his life. Those first 2 years were the years I believed that everything I had worked for had arrived intact. He started his company, ClearPath Technologies, in 2016. I did not entirely understand what it did. He tried to explain it to me twice, and I followed about 60% of the explanation and nodded at the rest. What I understood was that it worked. It grew fast. It attracted investment. By 2019, Marcus was worth more money than I could visualize, not in a way I could be angry about. He had earned every penny. He had worked in a way that I recognized because it was the way I had taught him to work, completely, without holding anything back, giving the work everything. He had given his work everything. And somewhere in that total giving, the portions available for everything else had quietly become very small. The distance did not arrive all at once. That is the thing about this kind of loss that makes it so hard to name in real time. It comes incrementally, the way weather changes. You look up one day and realize it is winter without being able to identify the specific afternoon when it stopped being fall. The weekly calls became bi-weekly. The bi-weekly calls became monthly. The monthly calls became calls on my birthday and at Christmas that were warm and slightly rushed and left me sitting with the phone in my hand after he hung up, listening to the silence and trying to decide if what I had just experienced was connection or the performance of connection. I could not always tell the difference. Marcus came home to Atlanta twice in 2015. Once in 2016, not at all in 2017. He sent a fruit basket for Thanksgiving 2017 with a card that said, "Thinking of you, love Marcus." I put the fruit basket on the kitchen table and I looked at it for 3 days. And then I ate the fruit because fruit does not keep. And some things you eat even when they taste like absence. I did not say anything to Marcus about the distance. I want to own that fully. He did not create the silence alone. I participated in it. I did not say, "Marcus, I need more from you than you are giving." I did not say, "I am lonely and I am your mother and I need you to call." I said, "I am fine, baby. Don't worry about me. I know you're busy." I said it because I had spent his entire childhood protecting him from my needs so he could focus on his potential. That protection, the learned habit of making myself small so he could be large. I could not turn it off when he was grown. It had become the shape of how I loved him. And the shape of how I loved him made it impossible for him to see that I needed something back. Nicole Carter came into Marcus's life in 2011. He brought her to Atlanta for the first time in 2012, and I made my best chicken, and I cleaned the apartment until it shone, and I put on the dress I wore to church, and I was ready to love anyone my son loved. That is who I am. I do not make things harder than they need to be. I do not perform jealousy over my son's relationships the way some mothers do. I was genuinely glad he had found someone. Nicole is a good person. I believe that. She is from a family with money. Her father is a corporate attorney in Charlotte. Her mother sits on 2 nonprofit boards. She grew up in the world that Marcus was building toward, and she belongs in it naturally, the way people belong in the world they were born to. She was not unkind to me. She was correct. There is a difference between unkind and correct that takes some living to understand fully. Unkind leaves a mark you can point to. Correct leaves a distance you cannot quite explain. After Marcus and Nicole married in 2014, the shape of his life changed in ways that I could feel before I could name. Their social world was Nicole's social world. Palo Alto people, Charlotte people, people whose parents had gone to the same universities as the people they married. People for whom a woman from Telfair County, Georgia, who worked hospital laundry and taught 3rd grade, was a background detail, an origin story, the humble beginning that made Marcus's success more impressive in the telling without requiring her presence in the living. I became the story Marcus told about himself to establish his credentials as a self-made man. The story does not need the subject in the room. The story just needs to be true enough to be useful. I do not blame Nicole for this. I have thought about whether I should, and the honest answer is no. Nicole did not take Marcus from me. Marcus made choices, adult choices, made by a man who knew what he was doing and had decided that the cost of full integration, of maintaining his Atlanta mother in his Palo Alto life, was a cost he was not going to pay. That is his decision to own. But I also know that the world Nicole came from does not always make room for the worlds the people you marry came from. And Marcus was always very good at fitting into the room he was in. That skill had been necessary when he was young. It became convenient when he was rich. The last time Marcus came to Atlanta was in 2018 for the funeral of a former Georgia Tech professor. He was in the city for 36 hours. He came to the apartment for 2 hours on Saturday afternoon. He sat in the chair across from where I am sitting now, and he drank the coffee I made, and he told me about the business and the children and Nicole's new project. She had started a foundation. And I listened, and I asked questions, and I watched my son's face while he talked, and I thought, he is comfortable. He is not uncomfortable being here. He is not in a hurry, exactly. He is just in a life that has its own momentum now, and this apartment and this mother are not inside that momentum. We are a stop along the way, a layover. He hugged me at the door when he left, a real hug, long, the way he has always hugged me. Marcus was never cold. He was never cruel. He is, in the moments when he is present, entirely the son I raised, warm and funny and smart and capable of love. The problem is not who he is when he is here. The problem is the length of time between here. My granddaughter Amara was born in 2015, my grandson Daniel in 2018. I have met them 4 times in total. Amara is 9 years old. She called me Grandma Dorothy once, in 2022, during a video call that Marcus's assistant had arranged as part of what I believe was Nicole's effort to give the children a sense of family history. Amara looked at the screen and she said, "Grandma Dorothy, do you know how to make biscuits?" I said, "Yes, baby, I know how to make biscuits. I can teach you anytime you want." She said, "Okay," and then the call moved on. I have not heard from her directly since, but I bought a new biscuit pan, just in case. I want to try to describe the particular grief of having a child who is alive and well and thriving and simply not present in your life. Because it is a grief that does not have a name, and because it does not have a name, it is very hard to ask for comfort for it. When someone dies, people know what to do. They bring food. They say, "I am sorry." They acknowledge the loss. When your child becomes a stranger, there is no casserole for that. There is no condolence card. People say things like, "Well, you must be so proud of how well he has done." And they mean it kindly, and they are not wrong, and it does not help at all. I am proud of Marcus. I want to say that with full force, because I mean it with full force. Everything he has built, the company, the career, the life in Palo Alto, I am proud of every square foot of it. I am the reason he could build it. I know that. He knows that. The pride and the grief live in me at the same time, and I have learned not to ask them to resolve themselves into something simpler, because they are not simple. A mother's love is not simple. What I feel for Marcus is not simple. I refuse to reduce it to something that fits more comfortably in a conversation. What I carry is this: the knowledge that I gave my child everything I had, and that the everything I gave him included the tools to build a world I cannot enter. I did not build a ladder for Marcus to climb and then get surprised that he climbed it. I built the ladder. I taught him to climb. I pushed him up every rung. What I did not plan for, what I do not think any of us plan for when we are working 2 jobs and dreaming of our child's future, is that the ladder goes both ways, and that a person who has climbed very high does not always look down and does not always come back. I built the ladder. I am standing at the bottom of it, and it is mine. I have thought for many years about what I would say to a young mother, a young woman working 2 jobs in Atlanta right now, raising a brilliant child alone, dreaming of the day that child has everything she could not give herself. Here is what I would tell her, and I say it with love and not with bitterness, because bitterness is something I have worked very hard and largely successfully to keep out of this story. Teach your child to succeed, and teach them what they owe for that success. Not in the way of debt. Children do not owe their parents repayment for the decision to bring them into the world and take care of them. That is not what I mean. I mean teach them that the people who loved them at the bottom are still people at the top. That a mother who worked hospital laundry does not become less real because you can afford a cleaner. That the apartment you grew up in does not become an embarrassment just because you now own property worth 10 times its value. That the distance between where you came from and where you are going is not a measurement of your progress. It is a measurement of what you are leaving behind. Teach your children that, not with guilt, with love. Say it the way I should have said it. Baby, I am building you a ladder. When you get to the top, remember who built the first rung, and come back down sometimes. I will be waiting. The second thing I would say, do not disappear into your child's needs. I poured every drop of myself into Marcus, and when he left, I had to figure out who Dorothy Watkins was outside of being Marcus's mother. That work, the work of finding yourself again after years of organizing yourself entirely around someone else, is harder than any job I have ever done. Keep something for yourself, a friendship, a passion, a room in your life that has your name on it and nobody else's. Not because your child does not deserve your full love, but because the full love you give them should not leave you empty when they are grown. You deserve to be a whole person at every stage of your life, including this one. And the last thing, for any son or daughter watching this who hears something of their own story in mine, call your mother. Not on her birthday only, not at Christmas only. Call her on a Tuesday when nothing is happening and you are just thinking of her. Call her and tell her you were thinking of her. That is all. You do not have to resolve anything. You do not have to bridge the whole distance in one call. Just call. Because somewhere tonight, there is a woman making 2 cups of coffee and pouring one of them down the sink, and she has been doing it for 11 years, and she would give everything she has to hear your voice say her name. My name is Dorothy Mae Watkins. I am 76 years old. I raised my son alone, and I am proud of him, and I miss him every single day, and both of those things are completely true at the same time. I am not asking for pity. I am asking for understanding. For anyone who has a mother like me, please understand what you are to her. You are not just a person she raised. You are the reason she got up every morning for the best years of her life. That does not expire. That does not become irrelevant because you are successful. That is simply who she is and who you are to her. If this story gave you something, share it with someone who needs to hear it. A son, a daughter, a mother, someone who is making 2 cups of coffee and only drinking 1. Subscribe to Senior Untold Stories for a new story every week. Real lives, hard lessons, unheard voices. Leave me a comment. Tell me what you felt. I read every word. God bless you. Good night.